Okay people, today let's have ourselves a little Marvel Legends 2-pack play day. Oh, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this one. These are all pretty old. I can't even pick out which one's the newest. I know I've been sitting on this Captain Marvel and Doctor Doom 2-pack for a little while, and the same goes for this Squadron Supreme Nighthawk and Blur. Maybe the same for Black Knight and Sersi, and I only say that because those are all in the windowless type packaging. I'm pretty sure that Dapper Logan and Mr. Fixit's from this year though. Was this year the whole Wolverine 50th anniversary thing? Time goes so fast. Giant-Man and Wasp is fairly recent too because of the window, I think. But then there's the Spider-Man animated series VCR type packs for Daredevil and Hydro-Man and Green Goblin and Mary Jane. Essentially, like every play day I do, I've got a pile of something and I want to go through it. I want to get things out of boxes and either into the display, into tubs, or over onto the customizing desk. I'm a simple man. This is what I do. First, let's crack open the Squadron Supreme pack of Nighthawk and Blur. And I'm going to start off with Nighthawk because, well, they're both essentially guys in skin-tight costumes with some headgear, but Nighthawk has this plastic cape that kind of gets in the way of things. Now, don't get me wrong, this is beautifully sculpted. I love the ridges running down, the scallops in the end. It's very not Batman-like. And then the front flips up, while the corner sides stick out awkwardly. Oh yeah, we're digging deep today. Now, I made a reference to Batman a minute ago because the Squadron Supreme is essentially Marvel's version of Justice League and all that. But between the cape flippies and the Wolverine head wings, you wouldn't think Batman. But I like the look here because of the way these swoop back. It kind of follows the line of the cape coming back and then, you know, adding some dynamic to that. What it really breaks down to is the cape is stiff and flat. So I love the look in this position. And I guess, well, okay, does it unplug? It comes off. You could get some poses with the figure. I haven't even bent these joints. The pinless elbows, pinless knees. Anatomy! Dynamic pose, plug the cape back in, and well, I got to stand up, but still, it's just stiff. It just floats up in the air. I do notice that the head wings are off just from being in the packaging. This one feels normal, like it's going straight back. This one's kind of curving around the head. Let's see what we can do about that. Now that is a soft material, so you don't want to hit it with too much heat. Don't crank it, just warm it up a little bit. And I didn't even touch it, push it, nothing. Just warming it up allowed it to go back to its natural state. I guess it has some memory to it. Otherwise, the rest of the costume is just painted on. It's a nice blue with gold on top, and then black gloves, black boots, black trunks. And that's one of the pluses of the Vulcan body and that cut mid-forearm, because you can just do black plastic from here down, and it's not painted. It won't rub off. I will admit that this cape is a lot more display friendly than the original Nighthawk cape with its hard candy shell coming up and out and over, and just, oh man, it makes this one impossible to pose almost. And yeah, it's the classic costume with the claws and the boot cuffs and the slight goggle look, but this one is just more dynamic. It looks better overall. Updated body, updated costume aesthetics, overall better design, I think. It's just a good looking figure. And the same goes for Speed Demon, Blur. I think there's a convoluted connection between all those characters somehow. I'm not a Squadron Supreme aficionado. I just like the designs and the concept. And I think black and yellow and red is a good color scheme. There's a sinisterness to it, maybe because he's got this cocky smile to him. The ears are covered, I love the goggles, and then these lightning bolts are essentially the only... Well, okay, there is the belt overlay, but those two things are really the only thing that makes it not just a painted on costume. I do believe the body goes back to Sunfire. Is that what we're looking at? Oh, yep, duck feet. I'm loving this color right here though. It doesn't look plasticky. It doesn't have that shiny sheen. It just looks so natural next to this shade of yellow. It doesn't overpower. Although this does have that plastic shiny to it. Maybe because this is cast and this is painted. Making you look at the crotch. But the proportions just scream speedster. I mean, even if, well, okay, it's hard not to look at that headgear and not think speedster, but we've also seen other speedsters on this body. Well, okay, there's Quicksilver. I don't know if there's any other speedsters out there. Oh, and that's a casting cave head. Link is in the description. I mentioned Speed Demon, and digging him out of the display, I like that there's almost a continuity between the two heads. He's got a sinister sneer, So does Blur. But that body is super dated. It's just thin and lanky, which, I don't know, isn't bad, but I would love to see this design on this body. Kind of have the same thing with the lightning bolts here. It was in the package so long that this one's kind of formed down to the head. This one sticks off a little bit. I feel like that is what it's supposed to look like. There we go. That's better. Yes, it is the Sunfire body, but it's pinless knees and elbows. I'm starting to think runners should have toes, though, just because. For accessories, Blur comes with 2 open, gnarled up hands, and Nighthawk has, well, pretty much the same. One's a little bit more spread out than the other. And then he also comes with 3 Hawkerangs, Shuriken. I'm not quite sure what they're called, but they're boomerang weapons. And now I finally get to do this. Man, I love that Hyperion. If Hasbro replaced this midsection piece, it's smooth to accommodate the girdle. If they did that, they would have a perfect base for the bigger muscular types. Not the monsters like Omega Red or Venom, who are just huge and bulky. I'm talking about the Superman types. I hate to say that in the Marvel Legends review, but the Captain Britain types. And yeah, I have an extra one of these to customize on. Hell, I think I have another set somewhere around here. But that also means I have a couple of extra Dr. Spectrums. And once I add Nighthawk and the Blur and Power Princess and Hyperion, he's kind of odd man out because he's on the old Bucky Cat body. I guess the team is still complete. Next, since the 90s Avengers weren't my favorite, let's do Black Knight and Sersi, just to get Sersi on the shelf. Starting with Dane, because dang it, I'm gonna have to do some heating again. Look at this leg. Black Knight needs medical attention. And it's gonna need more heat to soften. Well, I say that. Oh, it's already starting to flop. I need to get a refrigerator out here to cool things off. I don't have a cold gun. That'd be pretty sweet, though. That's better, although now the legs will go this close together, but then they just kind of flex back out. That's just showing its age because it's the same legs from the original Black Knight figure. Also the same crotch piece and torso under this jacket. Different boots, though. They're still Buccaneer, but now they have a split in them. It does give it larger feet, which feels more proportionate with the rest of the body. Same hands, but different glove tops. The old ones are split on the outside, then the new ones are angled from front to back, and it has a bigger V in the back. I also can't place the arms or the jacket overlay, but there is pins, so I'm guessing those are from somewhere, maybe? The elbow's also bent like the knee was, but I'm okay with it here because, like the legs, I can't get the arms to go down beside the body. So that kind of fakes it, bringing the arms in a little bit. If it was straight, it'd be out here. And then I would bend it, and then I would turn the bicep. Avengers logo tampoed on the shoulder. There is a darker paint to the collar. And then there's the head. This is the same head as the original, but the face paints are improved with the photo reel, the photo printing to the eyes and the mouth. Major upgrade. But I'm here for Sersi. Now, she may not be in my mind's eye version of her. That's the green costume. But I'm okay with this, too, because I just like red and black and those short 90s jackets. Although me turning it like that makes me notice there is skin showing through the sleeve hole. But then I pulled out Rogue to show that the upper arm and the jacket overlay are reuse, and she's got yellow showing through there. That's something I didn't notice until just now. So I guess that's not big glaring. Not the same body under that jacket, though. Rogue is heftier, thicker, and Sersi uses a thinner frame. I believe the belt is reused, too, from Punk Storm. Knee pads are new. Don't quote me on that, because they may be reused from somewhere. But I think the Courtney Cox head is definitely new. And I really like that, especially the hair just flowing up and over, down over the face, coming down the back. It feels natural, even though it's a big hunk of plastic on top of an action figure body. And then, of course, there's the eyes, the lips, the slight blush to it. It's very well done. But I will say there's a lot of forehead showing there. And if you look on the artwork on the side of the box, she's wearing a headband. Maybe they were afraid it was going to be too Rogue? Maybe? I may try to throw one on there, though, just for the hell of it. It's just a plain body with black and red bodysuit. And again, those knee pads to kind of throw in something visually interesting down low. The main focus is right there. For accessories, Black Knight gets a grip right hand and a fist left, and then he has opposite replacements for each of those. Left grip, right fist. It wouldn't be Black Knight without a sword of some kind, and of course in the 90s he got a lightsaber. Or a laser sword. I do like the translucent yellow blade working down to orange, although it's only on one side. It's just painted over here, kind of a psh, and then the flashlight grip. Not as intimidating as the ebony blade, but again, it's the 90s look. Then, of course, Sersi gets the standard female spellcasting hands. There's the right, there's the left. And then there's 2 fists, which we are gonna swap on because she comes with these spell effects, and I feel like I gotta use them because of how unique they are. It's not every day we get new power effects. They've been rocking those rings and variations of that for so long that when I saw these in the package, I thought, what the hell are those things? But it looks like there's a fist hole you just stick in there, and away you go. I'm not sure if there's a right and left, but if you just push hard enough, you can see it punch into the center of it, and it stays on. Not bad at all. She may be flying above some Avengers in my display. Next, while I do have some interest in Secret Wars Doom, this pack is all about Captain Marvel. This is Doom right out of the package, which threw me off because I guess I didn't pay attention to the fact that there's an unmasked head. Victor! And yeah, that's cool and all, but that's not how I picture this Doom. So we're gonna skip to accessories to show that he has a mask that he can hold because he's not wearing it. And, well, he could hold it if there was a grip hand. There you go, he can do that. There's 2 fists, and there is this head, which is reuse of a mask we've gotten before, just with brighter silver paint. Then the eyes have a better photoreal to them. The hood, I'm not quite sure about. I don't have that retro carded Doom, so it may be from that, but it doesn't match this one. If this head pops off, that little downed hood piece comes off, and then that goes right on. This is what I think of when I think of Secret Wars Doom. The limbs come from the tried and true Iron Man that we've seen more than a few times. Smooth arm down to the glove cuff, and then grooves below that. Then the same thing at the leg. Smooth cuff groove. I think this band around the right leg is new, just to add to the Secret Wars accuracy. And I think that's the same for the torso. It has those grooves that's very unique to Doom. It's all swirly twirly plastic, which makes the silver really shiny, and the green kind of ethereal, almost like you can see the musculature under it. They panel lined all the sculpt work on the front, which is very nice. It gets a little messy here and here, but it comes off as more of a wash. That makes the torso detail pop against all that shininess, but then you get around to the back and there's no paint. You can see sculpted lines, but there's no paint. All in all, I didn't have the original Secret Wars Doom figure. I remember what it looks like. I remember the design, it looking like this, but I never had it in my possession. Now I do, and that's kind of cool. I don't think it'll be taking the place of my Cabal Doom, but this is definitely going to... Oh, well, we have Secret Wars figures coming later this year, don't we? Or early next year, sometime in the future. This can go with those. Perfect. I didn't realize there was detail to the inside of the mask too. That's kind of cool with the techie and the mouth and stuff. As much as I like Doom, it was always Captain Marvel that I wanted out of this set, and this is striking. It's such a simple costume, realized in plastic perfectly. You have the black leggings, and then you have that bright white. That makes a fantastic contrast. I even like the arm flap things more than I thought I would. There's one attached to the upper arm coming down, almost touching the lower arm, but then the lower arm has a piece coming back at it on the inside. So when you bend it, it looks like one piece of material attached, like in the comics. Now, it's not perfect because it's plastic. Two objects can't occupy the same space at the same time. We haven't figured that out in action figure terms yet. But this works pretty damn sweet for what it is. There are heels on the feet, so I feel like it won't have any problem standing whatsoever because it's on camera. Of course it's gonna stand. But you could see the potential for it falling over, right? I do like the boot tops too, the way they're longer down to the inside. They taper to the middle. The logo tampoed nicely to the chest, which is really the only paint on the figure. This is cast in black. The rest is cast in white, except for the best part, the head. This is Monica Rambeau. This is Photon. This is Captain Marvel. I love the sculpt. I love the hair. I love the paint, the eyes, the lips, the skin tone, the white mask going over it. It just all works perfectly together. Another flying female type for above my Avengers. I am not complaining at all. That looks great. Although I will say the hair gets in the way of looking up, but if you arc her back, she can get looking up a little bit. She has those same female magic, or well, I guess in this case it'd be power wielding hands. And then she has 2 fists. Oops, you noticed I put the flat piece to the back. It looks better if you do it on the front. It looks more natural. more seamless. Ooh, this comic cover is a little slice of my childhood or teenage years. When was that? Anyway, let's open Patch and Fixit. And before I rip into it, here's the cover right there on the back, recreated. The original has Fixit a little thicker compared to the thing. They may have brought it down a little to match the figure. Hey, we were just talking about bright white. How about some more bright white? Is it getting old? Because we're not done yet. It's hard to choose between these two. I love both characters, so I'm just arbitrarily starting with Hulk, because I don't think I have a gray Hulk. I don't have a Joe Fixit, except for the Build-A-Figure gaming one. And I'll go ahead and bring that in because there is reuse going on here. Same shoes, same legs, although I will say that Fixit, the Tux one, is a bit cleaner when it comes to the plastic down there. For some reason, this Fixit has some Mars or some scuffing to the plastic. It feels like it's under the surface. This feels better quality. Same arms, if you can see the detail on the white in my studio lights. I want to say the same shirt under the jacket, just with different ties. The jacket overlays are very similar at first glance. The top button is buttoned, the bottom one isn't and showing off to the side, but then past that, the pockets are different sculpts. There's no pocket square on the tux, and then the collar is different. Oh, and same fist sculpt, just different skin tone, which I really, really like. That neutral looking gray. This one has a bit of green to it. I don't know if it was like that in the game, and it works for this, but man, I really like this gray. I'm not sure if this head is reused. Like I said, I don't have any gray Hulks, but I love the sculpt. The hair up on top coming down, no hair here in the back, the facial expression, the shading to the skin. You can see some darker grays down in the crevices, and then the eyes peering out from under the brow. It gives kind of a Lurch vibe with this suit on, but we know who he is. That's Joe. That's Mr. Fixit. If you want him a little angrier, he has this open mouth, snarling, furrowed brow head that is essentially the same guy, just, you know, different mood, different emotion. Then there's an open left hand and a trigger finger right, which again is reuse in that beautiful, beautiful gray. I just love the thought of a Hulk type in a suit, you know, chilling in Madripoor. And maybe that's why Fixit works so much. After years and years and years of Hulk rampaging and destroying stuff, suddenly, you know, he's a little more laid back. Then you pair him up with Logan in disguise in Madripoor, and it's just a perfect team. Look at that. It's just so good. Because I do believe that this is mostly new sculpt for Logan. Don't you mean Patch, bub? Logan hasn't been around here in forever. Oops. This Wolverine's only slightly taller than the rest of the Logans we've got this year, like the Madripoor disguised Logan from the Psylocke pack, which I guess puts him about the same size as the Logan from the Sabretooth 2-pack. So these pants and these sleeves and this tux overlay isn't working for anybody else because this is Logan sized. Again, you have the black shoes with slightly lighter pants. It's not a black, it's a very, 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 very dark gray. But then guess what? For the top, you have bright white. The bow tie, the eye patch, the photo reel to one eye, and the lips, the perfect Logan hair. And I'm gonna be honest, I have not messed with these claws at all. This is how they came out of the package. But if you don't want him giving away his identity, there's these fists. And then there's an alternate head that is pretty much the same as the first, except for this slight smirky grin to it. And the eyebrow is raised slightly, just to show a bit of amusement. Or some, I can already take care of myself, but with the Hulk around, I don't even want to pose them up. This is how they're going in the display, just like that original cover. Just looking to the side, maybe put the fists in, and whoo, these bells are ready for the ball. That doesn't mean they can't pose up, but I will say that the jackets do get in the way a bit. You know, from torso movement. They can do arms, they can do legs, but not a lot of crunching, not a lot of tilting. We've been eating pretty good for the past couple of years when it comes to shrinking top characters, but it appears they've outdone themselves again. Let's open Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. I'm going to start with Hank because he's had the majority of the shrinking characters, or Ant-Man, or Giant-Man, or other people who have worn those suits. Because this could be Hank, it could be Scott, whatever you want to use it for, that classic Ant-Man look. Under this soft goods lab coat, I do believe that they are using the same body, which makes sense because yeah. Although I do think I replaced the shoulders on this one. Actually, let's just do it. Let's take off the soft goods. Well, okay, first, let's talk about the soft goods. It is a little bit pressed shirt getting away from you, I guess. Well, okay, there you go. I did close it up a little bit. Out of the package, it's just all over the place. It looks a little starchy, you know? He just threw it on, headed to the lab. Plus, it adds a whole lot of... Okay. We're done. I don't know a lot about labs, but I always felt like lab coats were longer, you know? This is more like lab shirt. I mean, it's not bad at all. The collar lays down. There is some bunchiness at the waist to make it look kind of form-fitting. If it would clasp in the front, or if it had a belt, well, it'd come off as a gi, wouldn't it? But we're gonna take that off and see what is under. Yeah, see, there you go. The shoulders were small on this body. There's quite the gap right here. And comparatively speaking, the biceps just bulge out from them. It was the same on this Ant-Man, but I replaced it with the shoulders from a Falcon, I believe? Or no, it was the more modern Giant-Man. The reds just happen to match up perfectly. And you can see the difference, it just balances things out. So I'll end up doing that. Well, okay, this is a different red, isn't it? Dang it. Maybe the lab coat will stay on. But we got this because the HasLab's on its way, and this is the small version of that. Have the V on the front of the costume, the blue trunks, the jagged blue gloves, the jagged blue boots. Duck feet. The belt is just a plain segmented overlay. But then, as we've already talked about a lot, the main focus is the head sculpt. This looks great. Although the eyes come off as kind of too serious, maybe? If I'm gonna have him in the costume, he's gonna have this head on. I just think that looks even better. In fact, it looks great. It adds a little pop of white there on the side, the antenna, and I believe that the face paint, the eyes and the lips, are even better than the unmasked head. He's already wearing his costume under the lab coat. There's nothing wrong with doing some experimenting like this. And experimenting he can do because he comes with lab equipment like this and this. I think this is a data pad of some kind or some kind of controller. And then a shrunk down Quinjet that he can just keep on hand in case he needs fast transportation. Or you can give this to the West Coast Avengers 5-pack Hank Pym, because that's the look I associate with him having small items in his pockets that he just throws out and grows. And that was his whole thing. Because at that time, he was afraid to grow himself. Is that right? It's been so long. Since I mentioned him, the heads are not reuse. Well, they share the hairpiece, just in a slightly different blonde color, but the heads themselves, the faces, the new Hank is much more square-jawed. It's also slightly larger. They're both very serious, but I don't know, this one feels more natural. This one, exaggerated? Is that the word I'm looking for? But man, what is this, the third pack, where it comes down to the female that I was most interested in? Because this classic version of Wasp beats everything we've gotten so far. The opinions expressed within this review are mine and mine alone. It's just personal preference. But I really dig this look for Janet. It's a bit different. It's not a skin-tight costume. Well, the boots are painted on. I would love to see sculpted boot tops a lot more. But the glove tops are an overlay piece, so there's a ridge, there's an edge. There's a separate skirt piece, and then the belt with the Pym particle canisters on the front, the flares on the shoulders, the W painted on the front, you know, for Wasp. Pinless elbows, pinless knees. And you're probably sick of hearing this, but man, look at the face paint. It is hard for this not to be where your eyes go, you know, to the eyes. Hasbro is killing it lately with that on Marvel Legends. It looks so lifelike. Does the helmet or headgear make sense? No, I mean, it's a point. It's almost like the Wasp stingers on the wrong end, because then you have the antenna, which, ooh, those are not the softest material. In fact, they're kind of on ball joints. You can move them side to side. The microphone piece is a little softer, but still not flexy. Let's stare into the eyes more, though. Just awkwardly silent. But if you don't care for the stinger head, there is this unmasked head that looks just as absolutely fantastic. Let me get it set up for you, and then I'm going to bring it in real close, and then, yo, it's the eyes. Then the rest isn't shabby at all. I love that hair sculpt. Or if you want to spruce up an older Wasp, although that head isn't bad, but it is not beating that. Okay, she kind of pops down too far on the neck, but that could work with a little blue tack in between. I'm sticking to this because there's also the wings. Same sculpt we've seen before, but this time around is just pure white. It's not bright white. There's a little shimmer to it. It's a bit pearlescent. And that's just cherry on top. That completes the look. There are these open hands, but I'm okay with the fists. The only thing missing here is, well, the Giant Man version of this Giant Man is on its way. It should be any day now. But we're missing a tiny version of this Wasp. And it's another female flying above my Avengers, but this will go with my original team, the classics. I'm gonna reiterate that I wasn't much into the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, but I love a good Green Goblin. And I've been needing to upgrade mine for a while, so let's see if this is the one to take that spot. Here I am starting with the female of the pack, because before I opened it, I thought, well, I don't have a connection to this version of Mary Jane, so whatever, I'll put it on the shelf and it'll be fine. But the more I mess with it out of the package and look at the yellow sweater and the blue, or well, no, that's not blue, that's purple. Got the cowboy boots on the outside, the pinkish turtleneck under the sweater, and then the head sculpt. That's just Mary Jane. It looks like Mary Jane. You know what got me though? Those buttons. Those are sculpted on, but then there's that hard shadow painted up under them. For some reason, I love that. It's not cell shading in random places. It's just a little bit of cartooniness thrown into the middle of all this. Although you get to the face and you can definitely tell this was based on a cartoon. It's not near as nice as what we saw with Wasp or Captain Marvel. And I don't mean not as nice as in bad. It's just a different style. This just has a more animated feel to it, with the eyeliner going all the way around the eyes and a bit of plainness. But this will definitely feel at home on my comic book shelf, because this is the Mary Jane I've been using. It's not complete. I stole the head to spruce up Siren, and I think this one is from the Spinneret 2-pack, and the skin tones don't match. Plus, it's just a tank top and jeans. And when I first got this out, I thought, oh, look, same legs. But it's not. Very, very similar, but the flies come down to different places. The animated one isn't near as wrinkly, and then the seam isn't as deep. Side by side, you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to the paint jobs. This is done in that slightly more realistic style. This is done in that slightly more animated style. But now that I got these side by side, does this go here? And then this? And then, oh. The skin tones match up fairly nice, but even if they didn't, you can't see enough of the neck to make a call there. Maybe this will be my Mary Jane, just in kind of 80s, 90s attire. And she doesn't look too out of place next to Gwen. My favorite Spider-Man's kind of that retro throwback anyway. You know, the 70s, the 80s. Early 90s. So Mary Jane looking like this? No problem whatsoever. She does come off a little short both to the Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man and the older version of Peter with a casting cave head, but I can fudge that. I can use that. What we got with the arms here? Okay, puffy sleeves, but still comes up past 90. Pinless double knees, not a problem at all, and the boot is a separate piece, swivels down there. She comes with a fist and an open hand on the right, and then opposite alternates with a right fist and a left open. I thought the green purse went to her at first, and it kind of clashes with the rest of the costume. Then I looked at the packaging and realized that this actually goes with Green Goblin. It's a completely different shade from all the rest of the green on the body. And as far as that goes, I don't think there's anything new here. In fact, I'm gonna guarantee it, because pins in the knees, pins in the elbows. Well, okay, I said everything was reused. Obviously, the head is new because it captures that look from the cartoon perfectly. What Siren songs me here, though, is the color scheme. That brighter green and that lighter pink. Again, not a lot of experience with the 90s cartoons, but there's something just interesting about this. It's not overly monstrous. It's really dude in mask, and I like that when it comes to Green Goblin. I say as I pull this out of my main display, the more modern, armored, monstrous looking one. I should have probably got the retro, but I didn't like it. For some reason, I really like this, except for one thing. I guess it's accurate to the cartoon after doing some Googling, but the darker trunks just doesn't work for me for some reason. I wish it was pink like the rest of the body. It just stands out to me. Again, that's my opinion. That's my personal preference. That's how I picture it. I still think this is a great looking Green Goblin. I'm also liking the smoothness here with the contrast of pointy boots and flared gloves. But I do like the belt being brown, even though that color doesn't appear anywhere else. It's almost a little realism thrown into cartoony colors. And then the dark green satchel also sticks out, but I'm okay with that. For some reason, it's those purple trunks. Then he comes with this deep purple Goblin glider. I'm not sure if this is reuse, but I'm thinking that this is very specific to the 90s animated series, so this may be new. Well, okay, digging the old one out, it does reuse some of the sculpt for the body, but then the head is obviously new. And then they've redone the underneath part to add a ball joint for a stand of some kind that comes separately. Nifty looking pumpkin bomb that seems a bit familiar, but the biggie here is, can he hold it? Can he? Oh, look at that. First try. It's in his hand. I'm okay with that. Then there's this unmasked head that I'll probably never use on this figure because I love this head too much. That's not going to stop me from finding a suit body or something. I will say that, again, going to the photo reel, to the paint apps on the face and everything, there's some shading under the eyes. There's kind of the extra detail to the eyeballs. Going back to this, again, I don't mind because this is based on an animated series, but then went here with the Goblin that is also from the animated series. Just pointing it out. I think I'm still waiting for that Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends version. That bagginess to the clothing, that elongated look to the face, the eyes, the slight hint of scales, not just full-on scales. I don't mind that. In fact, I've been using that one for a long time now. But yeah, still waiting. Maybe it'll go into the display like this. Blah, 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 90s Spider-Man cartoon, whatever. I wanted this for the Daredevil because of this interesting looking paint job on it. That's it. And Hydro-Man seems pretty cool in water. But anyway, looking at Hydro-Man first, yes, he's right here. He's blue translucent plastic on top of a blue background. Trust me, he's pretty sweet. The body is reuse of the first Hydro-Man. There's that shirt look going down to pants, going down to, well, if you take these off, there are boots down at the feet. But I think that was originally the Netflix Luke Cage, and there he had just regular arms, and that's what they're reusing here. But then there's a new head, and I absolutely love this. Now, it is the cartoon look, but I feel like it would make a good comic book version too, because, okay, this is no slouch. That's definitely Maury, but I want this one too. I want this one in skin tone. And it's such a simple thing they did to make it look like animated water with these white highlights, but it's so effective. It really does work. I wish it went all the way down the leg, but there's a reason for that. We'll get to it. But it's highlighted up here, and then at the top of the arm, the pecs, the shirt, and then the hair. And I think that's where it works the best. Because then the eyes and the teeth are also painted, and at first it kind of feels like the top of the waves. Like, you're looking at water and then suddenly there's a face peering back at you. And that's where my blue background comes into play here, because you can kind of get that sense. If he was down in the water and you were just looking and then, oh wait, what's that? It's Hydro-Man. I mentioned there being no white down here at the bottom of the legs. That's because it comes with the same foot covers, but there, instead of just being translucent blue with a little bit of white mixed in, they went full-on seafoam at the top. Is that what it's called, seafoam? With the splashy? I don't know what it's called. I'm not around the ocean. But that fits around the foot. You kind of go around the ankle and work the foot up into it. And that works great. In fact, it makes for a very stable action figure. But they didn't include the arm effects, which was a big thing with the first release. And when they announced this, I went on and on about, well, will they be swappable? Will the blues match? No. But it doesn't matter, because if you swapped them, you'd have this black sleeve right here. This isn't separated. Two pieces glued together, and that is black plastic. Blues aren't that far off. This one may be a little bit darker. Maybe you could splice. Like we've seen a couple times already, there is a splayed open right hand, a fist left, and then optional opposites, right fist, left open. But I'm not afraid to admit that Daredevil was my most wanted out of this set, simply because of this amazing paint job. Now, I mentioned cel shading a minute ago and not caring for it on action figures, but this isn't so much cel shading as it is just deep shadow. Him in back alleys, hiding out. We've seen him like this in comics before. Especially the whole bodysuit in shadow, but nothing on the gloves and boots. That feels like a very comic book type thing, and I'm all about the comic book looks. Plus, it's so much more detailed and precise than the cell shading with these lines cross-hatching. Hell, they even did it to the stick holster over here with the straps coming across and on the front. Not so much on the side or the back, but they got a little on the back of the legs, down here, and then some up on the back and going around the arms. So, at least in most poses, it's going to be shadowy. It's if you have him swinging away or something that you'll see a lot of red. The body is reused from the previous Daredevil, which I think was in a 3-pack with Elektra and Bullseye, right? Bullseye in the weird blue t-shirt. But it's a fantastically articulated body with the upper dumbbell joint, so you can get some tilt there and there, but then there's a hinge down at the waist to give you some extra crunchicles. Pinless doubles, toe joints down on the foot. I don't know why I said that, because where else would toe joints be? Toe joints up on the shoulders. Excellent range to the butterfly joints. Still need to work on the dumbbell in the neck. They've added this cutout for a little extra, but not enough for him to look completely up. Can't bury the chin either. Gives it a hell of a tilt though. Still not a problem to pull off some Daredevil poses, although I would like for it to look up. Okay, Daredevil pose. Woo! He's the man without fear. He's gonna leap off rooftops like this. In the package, he has 2 grips, then there's 2 fists, 2 splayed out hands, and 2 billy clubs, which is why I'm gonna leave the grip hands in, because that's how I like to display my Daredevils. Ready for action. Ready to hit the streets. There's also this piece of shaped rope for in between the billy clubs. Again, very comic book-like. I have my regular Daredevil very stoic with the neutral looking face. This one in the package came with the gritting teeth, and I also like to think of Daredevil that way too. He's struggling, but if you prefer the other look, here's that in the same shadow motif. Very, very nicely done. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I'd like to see other characters done like this. I know it's very fitting for Daredevil, but man, could you imagine like a Shadow series or something like that? Just done with shadowy paint jobs, just to darken them up a little bit. Gritty. So at the end of the day, you do not know how long it took to line up 14 figures in the frame. It took a long time. But that's okay, because after this, I get to add most of these to the display. And I did say most of them. I don't think Black Knight's gonna make the cut. I'm a classic kind of guy. I prefer this look for Black Knight. The jacket doesn't really do anything for me, and neither does the laser sword. The ebony blade, on the other hand, oh yeah, that's Black Knight's weapon. Although I didn't try this. There's no skin showing on the old Black Knight body, so giving him the new head with the better paint apps and such, oh, yeah, okay. That's spruced up. And then I'll probably swap out Mary Jane's head. Dr. Doom may not have a home until more Secret Wars figures come out, but I like it a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't think I'd hate it, but it's a nice surprise when I was thinking that it's just Monica coming out of the package going in the display. Because again, look at that. So good. Sersi may get a little customizing with the headband, but as is, not bad for a 90s look. I'd still prefer the green, but this'll do me for now. I ended up liking Blur more than Nighthawk, simply because of the cumbersomeness of that cape. Cumbersome. But both are going to be with the Squadron Supreme, so they serve their purpose. Patch and Fixit may be off by themselves, but yeah. Hydro-Man may be on the comic shelf. I may find a way to put those Hydro arms on the Hydro body. I feel like that would be Hydro perfect. Wasp is definitely going with my classic Avengers. Hank, we shall see what happens when the HasLab comes in. He's display worthy, but I sure like Ant-Man. I think I've decided to replace the main display Daredevil with this. I just love that shadowiness. And then finally, Green Goblin. I'm on the fence. I really, really like this, but it's not my Green Goblin. But I'm sure that'll come along eventually. It's Green Goblin. It's Spider-Man. Every few years we get a refresh. So there you go, my pile of Marvel Legends 2 packs all out of the package. Some better than others, but all fairly pretty good, except maybe you. What am I going to open next? What's the next Playday? I've got a pile of Star Wars. I've got a pile of Mega Man Series 2. Oh, I've got some Masters of the Universe cartoon collection that's been stacking up. I don't know. We'll see. I like the variety. I like just throwing stuff out. Instead of focusing on one thing for 10 minutes, I like just, here's this, and here's this, and here's this. And I get stuff into the display, and I get stuff out of the stacks. It's win-win. It's playing. It's a play day.